Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Lens with your host, Jake and Scott. In this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the best Kentucky bourbons under $50. So sit back and buckle into the latest episode of the Bourbon Lens. Scott, Kentucky Bourbon Festival is over. We are still here in September because this month is extremely long, like we talked about in our last podcast. But we are going to reflect for a few seconds on Kentucky Bourbon Festival because we'd be remiss not to. And then we're going to talk about Kentucky bourbon because that's what we celebrated this month. It's National Bourbon Heritage Month, but there's bourbon made outside of made outside of Kentucky that we're all aware of. But today we're going to focus on the best $50 Kentucky bourbon. So Kentucky Bourbon Festival's in our rearview mirror. Give me 3 highlights of Kentucky Bourbon Festival for you.
I would definitely say top of my list was tasting 21-year-old bourbon.
Yeah.
Knob Creek 21 hit the festival, Saturday?
Saturday, the big release.
So that was probably the biggest, most exciting release for me to be able to taste that. Number 2, KBF House.
Always a good time.
A wild show. And then number 3 probably was just being at the festival, running into people that you see online, that you interact with in messages and comment threads and, Discord servers, things like that. But, yeah, just being there and then going Sunday, I went Sunday for a few hours and that was awesome because it was way slower pace. Everybody was just on a Sunday stroll. You could really just, we sat around and watched, the Bourbon 30 for a little while. And it was a way different experience on Sunday than it was the rest of the weekend. But
for sure. It did seem fast this year, fast and furious at the Bourbon Festival. I think those are all good 3. I was going to say Kentucky Bourbon House. Shout out to just the house in general from the married couple, Courtney and Bourbon in Indiana. Right? Can't say his name. Be good here. Pete, keep him safe. To Dan and Sean and Mike and Dave and Embellish Pod. It was great to have John join us this year. Good conversations, good people. And I think that's a highlight. I really enjoyed the Penelope event on Thursday. That was kind of a last minute thing that we got invited to.
Yeah.
Picked a random barrel of Penelope Rosé. So got to work on that with one big pikey still to make that come to life. It was a really fast and furious time, but it was great. And then I think last but not least, getting to know Jane and Denny a little bit more from Potter Jane. I know it's kind of a little off the wall. They had Miller ponies. So having a nice beer, crisp beer after a long day of drinking bourbon was amazing. So that would be my highlights. I know that last one's kind of random, but it was a lot of fun getting to know them a little bit better and excited to see what's going to happen with Potter Jane over the next several years.
Well, the nice thing, everybody's what was the best booth? And it's very hard to say because they're all so different. They all have their own personalities, but that booth had so much personality.
100%.
They were just doing things different, just more it was more hey, come up on my front porch and sip some bourbon with me. That's what it felt like. It was taste this, So, yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, it's exciting to see what they've got in store.
What was the most off the wall pour that you had, right? A lot of people are going to say the Knob Creek 21. There was a couple Source Kentucky 18-year-old bourbons. Bluegrass had one. Hatfield and Company had one. Dark Arts had an extremely long line the entire time. Macaulay and the team were kicking ass and taking names. But what would be your favorite pour that you had outside of just the traditional ones?
Ooh, so I didn't even have those 3 that you just mentioned. Dark Arts never made it to the booth. Hatfield and Co. Is it Hartfield and Co? Sorry.
It may make one of those 2.
I didn't know that they had an 18-year bourbon. Dang, that's a hard question. Well, I think what Whiskey House did.
Yeah.
Was definitely, it's well, not even that, but how every couple hours they had a rotating crew. That was cool. Calumet was there pouring their 18-year.
Yep. They had B. Hawk in from North Carolina. They just had a lot of their partners there.
Yeah, Beehawk, Whiskey Gypsy was there. Yeah, so
Mhm.
like it was kind of like that was kind of like speed dating.
Yeah,
Like pop in, you're like it's a different crew, it's a different tasting flight, it's always different. So
for sure.
best singular pour, damn, that's hard. I don't even know. I can't even
Yeah.
say.
The Pfeiffer Fat was exceptional. I thought that was a really, really good pour of bourbon, finished bourbon. And then I really enjoyed the 15-year-old American single malt that we got to try at Town Branch. Thought that was really cool. But from a like overall collection, Centauri Global kind of capped it off. And you're like, Jake, Centauri wasn't there. Yes, they were, and they were there in a huge way. That's called Jim Beam and Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
And they made their mark on the festival. Maker's Mark was pouring cellar aged and keepers release, as well as the new Star Hill Farms Jim Beam. You could literally try anything you wanted but the Knob Creek 21. Started our Saturday morning with the pour of the reserves tequila finish. That's a hell of a way to start your day.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun trying those booths. I would have to say from a pour perspective, those two just having every major release available for people to try, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, and they also spread it out too, so it wasn't like all gone Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Like Makers was releasing stuff at 1:00 on Sunday.
Yeah.
Heaven Hill had some limited release stuff. Very, very special.
Very,
batch.
very special.
Very, very special.
Very, very special.
Old
11.
Fits. That was on Sunday. So it was like, and going through the line, talking to people, I was trying to figure out like, are these just VIP people that have waited in line all day? But it really wasn't. It was mostly general admission people that were getting the bottles. So,
yeah,
I mean, there was still the opportunity, which I definitely appreciate, the big distilleries that were still putting out releases on Sunday for the people that really stuck around, that came back multiple days just to try to get another bottle.
Yeah, nope. Completely agree. It's Kentucky Bourbon Festival is in the rearview mirror. We will be looking at KBF 2026, which is a monumental Kentucky Bourbon Festival, 35 years of the festival. And if you thought people blew it out this year, people will definitely blow it out next year. So if you're not on the mailing list for Kentucky Bourbon Festival, do yourself a favor, get on the mailing list. It's the way you get.
Stop waiting around.
And stop waiting around. You get a 1 day early entry. Do that, and you will thank us for that later. The Madhouse will be back in 26. I already talked to our Airbnb guy. So we are moving and grooving and look forward to September 2026. Hope we're here. Knock on wood. Never
For
know
multiple reasons.
Yeah, never know what's happening in this crazy world. But we'll continue to talk bourbon and talk whiskey and do life. That's what we do here on the podcast. So let's get back to the topic at hand. Best Kentucky bourbons under $50. Now, you can say, and people are hearing this right now as I transition here, saying, Scott's going JTS Brown. Scott's going JW Dant. Scott's going H.H. Reg.
3 bottles of JTS Brown.
Yeah. So, we've put together a little lineup. We're not going to go through an exhaustive list. These are ones that I think you made a good point. These would be bottles that we would pick up if we were saying needed to start over. All of our bottles got skunked in a fire, whatever happened, and we wanted to go pick up a couple bottles to do this. Now, we understand that everyone's palate's a little bit different. We're just going to give our suggestions on where you should look. If you're just getting into bourbon, some people are like, I want that smooth flavor profile. So we've got some that are smooth, easy drinkers, and then we've got some that are a little bit more on the fringe. You might not be thinking about to enjoy. So Scott, I've done a lot of the talking. Shocker. So I'm going to ask you first, right? You are our ideal consumer here, right? You like bourbon in this price point. You enjoyed this, obviously, because we just talked about Heaven Hill. What way would you go to the liquor store, your local, whatever? What bottle would you pick up under $50 Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey?
Yeah. So that was, when the topic was raised, my mentality was try to really exploit the value, right? So it's like get close to $50, but really justify the higher price point, because obviously I can find a $20 bottle and be perfectly happy, but that's not what we're doing here. We could do that in another episode. We probably have, but so I was thinking, like 40, $45, $50, right at the limit. One that I always go back to that's super solid, 1792 full proof. So you're getting value out of the fact that it's a higher proof. You can add your own water, proof it down however you'd like, put it on ice, do whatever. Sometimes you can get single barrels for 50. Sometimes they creep up a little bit, but if you're just pulling a standard offering of just a batch product, 1792 full proof, and I don't think you can really go wrong with most of the Barton lineup for its price.
Yeah. Agreed. I looked at the 1792 lineup. I actually had a single barrel and a bib in my hand to pull up for today. I think 1792 is forgotten about as the Sazerac workhorse, right? We all think about Buffalo Trace. And 1792 is the value play. If you want good, straight Kentucky bourbon whiskey with that Sazerac name on it, and a lot of Sazerac products, even that have a Buffalo Trace logo on it, are coming out of that distillery, I think 1792 is a great value. And they just have one of the best in the business. Ross is awesome. Danny Kahn, awesome person. So got to spend some time with them. And Ross welcomed a little baby at some point since Kentucky Bourbon Festival. So shout out to Ross, having a kid, always a great and monumental experience for that. And I would say 1792 is one of the best value brands in bourbon, priced appropriately at every release.
Yeah. I mean, even like the 12-year, like
it's under $70.
Yeah. So they're a little bit harder to find, obviously, but it's still not hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Correct. So I'm going to go on the heels of our latest podcast, which was the Four Roses podcast, and bring up what I always forget about is Four Roses, a small batch bourbon. Not because it's not iconic, not because I just don't drink it. It's just because it sits in the back of the bar behind the limited editions. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to pull out a limited edition. So it's a great looking bottle. It has great value. If you wanted to go over the price point of $50, the Four Roses Small Batch Select is slightly over. I think it's in the 50 to 55 category, but here you're at $35. You get a little bit of proof, 90. Typically the ages are going to be 5 to 10 years old in this batch of bourbon. So you're getting a little bit of age there. It's got a little nuance, and it has all 10 recipes. So if you are a recipe hoe for Four Roses, like we said, all the bourbon enthusiasts are paying attention to this brand because of the different recipes. I think Four Roses small batch is good. I would not suggest the traditional quote unquote yellow label. It doesn't sit right with my palate, but the small batch does.
Yeah, a great value. I mean, it doesn't, it's not like it doesn't look like a super value play. Like you put Four Roses on your bar, on your bar, it seems like that's a nice bottle, like as it is. I mean, white or yellow label or whatever they call it. Yeah, not so whatever. Much. That's a house pour. Yeah.
It is my house bourbon. I will make cocktails with that when people are over. It does fine for that, but as a workhorse bourbon, something you want to sip on every day, not for me. Now you can go a lot of different ways as we keep going through, this lineup. You have literally the whole state of Kentucky to work with. Where would you go next as you think about this?
Yeah, so I went back to, one of the standards, right? But again, looking for the value and where that lies in the portfolios of different brands. But Knob Creek 9-year, like 100 proof, Knob Creek, it's Jim Beam. Like, just if you got the extra cash, just get the 9-year, right? Like, don't go for the Beam Black Label. Like, yeah, it's 7 years. Just go for the 9-year.
I mean,
or if you're feeling really froggy and you need a little rye, you can also get the Bourbon X Rye, which includes that 9-year, but also includes a 7-year rye. So that's a great choice too. But we're talking Kentucky straight bourbon. So
yeah, that's a good play. Knob Creek gives you a lot of that oomph, right? It doesn't lack character. It's a bold bourbon. And so, I could get there. And Beam has a lot of things to offer, right? You could go with the old Granddad lineup at the 114. That's a great one, or the bonded, not the 7-year, but just the traditional bonded, both really solid plays. Jack Daniel's 7. So you do have a lot of, or Jack Daniel's 7, Jim Beam 7, Black Label. You do have a lot of variability with what you could go with at Jim Beam. Which leads me to my variable one that you can go up and down the scale very easily, and that is my Monster Mash pour Old Forester 100. Just a versatile bourbon.
Signature.
Neat cocktail on a rock. This one is great. I think I've bought more bottles of this than not. Love a screw tap. Who doesn't? That's what's in my glass right this second. But you could go the 86 and you're not going to be disappointed. And you can even creep into the Whiskey Row lineup with Old Forester under $50. So you got a lot of variability, but I think the 100, the signature, like you called it, is just, quintessential Brown-Forman Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, when we moved out this way and there was a Walgreens, like 2 miles up the road, if I was needing a bourbon in the house back pre-podcast days,
yeah,
I'd stop and get a bottle of, 100 proof. And it was always like $22. It's like, it's solid. It's good, neat. It's good in a cocktail. It's good on the rocks. Like, it just works.
Mm-hmm.
And the price is obviously really good. You can get a handle of it, I think, for less than $50. So do that. And then, then you got a good bar program already developed, and you can just buy a couple bottles of bitters and whip up some cocktails.
Let it rip. And speaking of bitters, something just landed today. The Simply Syrup, the Bluegrass bitters just landed. So we'll be making some cocktails with the Orange 5 Spice bitters and smoky simple syrup that they sent over coming up. That sounds like a great way to celebrate Penelope's second birthday this coming weekend, is with a nice batch of old fashions as the people come through. Maybe with Old Forester 100. I think that might just be the way to go with that banana, that isolamyl acetate, with that orange and smoky note. I think that could be a really nice combination.
Make those freezer door old fashions.
Oh, 100%. But unfortunately, I'm a little low on the bottle, so I guess go do a little bourbon.
Stop for a fresh one.
Yeah. So we'll keep this short. I've got more on my bar. We could talk about this, I think, ad nauseum for a very long time. There's a few we'll probably run down after this, but we both have kind of a wild card, something a little bit of flair that you could get under $50. What's your flair one that's Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, but it might have a little twist on it?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think of like not the big guys.
Yeah.
Like not the what do we call them? Legacy distillers. But it's still kind of a big guy. But this one I just added before we even hit record. Like I was like racking my brain trying to find something a little bit off the trail. Wilderness Trail, bottled and bond, weeded bourbon. I think it's like 4 to 6 years old now. When it came out originally, I think it was like $65, a little bit high. It's obviously came down a little bit in prices. Their production has kept up with the demand.
Tiny acquisition in there. That doesn't hurt either.
Yeah. They have a sister distillery that also has wild in the name, but but yeah, it's like, I feel like what Wilderness Trail is one that like we don't think about very often because it's a little bit far away from us. But a lot of people ask about it. Like, I'll go to a party or something and somebody's like, I came across this bottle like whenever, and they're like, do you know anything about Wilderness Trail? And I think people think like it's like a historic distillery like that people just don't know about. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know about them, but like it's good whiskey. And I've not purchased it in a while, but I think they've got a high rye bourbon and a weeded bourbon. The weeded bourbon was the one I was thinking of because that was the one. I think it's got like nearly 30% wheat. Like it's a high wheat content. So it's got a lot of sweetness. It's a little bit, it's a little bit younger, but it's 100 proof. And I think you can get it for like $40, $45.
Yeah, I think that's a good value play. Again, it is a WT. So that narrows down the sister distillery. If you didn't know, it's Wild Turkey. Um, for me, the one that I kind of went in the same direction, right? A distillery that people know about, but they don't really know about, right? And that is Lux Row. So I went with an Ezra Brooks cask finish series. So John Rimpey has done a lot of different things when he has got different barrels. This is the port cask. He's done this with a variety of barrels that I can't even say. And so the 99 proof, I think, is a lot of value. This is a $34.99 bottle. So the cask finish series has kind of gone on, in different ways. So I do like this with the traditional 72, 10, 12 mash bill. I think, I don't know, I did the math wrong there ish. But this one I think is very good. Just if you were looking for something a little bit different. Now, this was not an exhaustive list. I didn't have Green River sitting on my bar. So for the, just the traditional bourbon or wheated, I just thought about this. Bardstown Bourbon Company is sitting over here right behind me, but they're just their Origin series, all phenomenal, under $50.
Yep.
Besides the Cherrywood Rye. So you could go that. There's a lot of good sourced stuff that's coming out of Green River, right? Not Four Branches, but you've got Row 94, you've got Good Trouble, all under $50. You've got some stuff coming out of Western Kentucky that's coming online, like Uncharted. That's a really cool weeded product coming from our team out there. And they're no longer in Whitcliffe. That was easy to remember. Columbus now, yes.
Yeah.
They sell the Ocean Blue. They're just selling the Mississippi constantly.
Yeah.
And the other brand that came to mind was New Riff. I do love what Jay and the team have done up there. So you can get their bourbon or rye, just their regular standard offering, bottled and bond, 100 proof, every day. I think even their age stated stuff is under $50 or close to it. So you can get a lot of good stuff coming out of New Riff as well.
Yeah. No, so I had a few like honorable mentions, like you just kind of ran through. So that sister distillery we were talking about, Wild Turkey, the one that always hits the value list, rare breed for a higher proof, from a major distiller, and it's typical Wild Turkey, like it is, characteristic of Wild Turkey. So not hard to miss that one. Bardstown Origin Weeded was on my list as well. 6-year, it's 106 proof. So you get a lot of value out of that because that's some of the oldest stuff that's coming out of Bardstown for their own stuff. And then I was thinking, because I poured some here, Wheelhorse. We talked about Green River. This is a Green River sourced product, but they have a bunch of different offerings, whether it's the barrel proof here, 5-year, but they also do cask finishes of their bourbons. They do double oak. They've got a cigar blend, toasted barrel. There's one more I think I'm missing. Oh, they have
Sounds fun.
I think they have a weeded coming soon too, but all less than $50 and about $40 actually. So, and then the one I thought you missed, and maybe it's just me being a value shopper, but the new Four Roses single barrels. They're all $50.
They are, and just haven't gone and got them or tried them.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Wanted to be about that one. The other one I'd be remiss, you can go get these benchmark bonded foolproof, depending on what you like. If you want Buffalo Trace, it's also a solid option. What I want you to hear out of this as we close the podcast up is that these are all readily available bourbons. Could we have gone with Eagle Rare or any of the Sazerac products? Like, I think E.H. Taylor's actually above this price point now, but Elmer T. Lee is not, Weller is not. These are available products in Kentucky that we are talking about, things that you can readily find because, it's easy to be go find the limited editions, and that's great. And they're really good whiskeys and really good bourbons. And Scott and I are all about that. But we're also about trying to help you find and grow your bar with bourbons that are readily available that we think you would like. So all of these are options that we think that you could enjoy. Let us know what we missed in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. We'd love to have you join in the conversation. You can follow us everywhere, especially on YouTube. We would like that. And make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast, and we will catch you next time on the Bourbon Lens. Cheers.
Cheers.